Hello everyone! In the previous lesson, we understood the concept of the useful sentence, then types of sentences, and we also explained all about nominal sentences. In this lesson, we will continue our journey with verbal sentences and we will have different exercises on sentences. This is Mustafa Nasser speaking and you're watching Arabic for Nuns. If you like my videos, please subscribe my channel, activate the bell, and share the video. Let's dive in. I will begin by talking about the verbal sentence. A verbal sentence in Arabic is the sentence that begins with a verb. And it has three components: the verb, الفعل, the subject of the verb, الفاعل, and the direct object, المفعول به. Let's define each one of them. First, the verb. It's a word that expresses an action in a specific time. And it has three types as we explained in the first lesson of this course: past, ماضي, present, مضارع, and command, أمر. A verbal sentence may begin with any one of these three types. Second, the subject, الفاعل. We define it as whoever or whatever does the action of the verb. It's always a noun and it can be definite or indefinite. And we can easily recognize it by asking a question begins with who, as we will see in the examples. And one last point, الفاعل is always in nominative case, مرفوع. Here is a very important concept in verbal sentences. Every verb must have a subject. These two components are necessary for every verbal sentence. And the subject might show up in three shapes. Whether you see it obvious after the verb as a single word, or it will show up as a connected pronoun to the verb itself, or it might even be a hidden pronoun which we cannot see in the sentence, but we can easily know it is there from the context. Lastly, direct object, المفعول به. We can define it as the thing or the person that directly receives the action of the verb, or whatever the action of the verb fall upon. It can be an obvious noun, definite or indefinite, or it can show up as a connected pronoun to the verb also, but it will never be hidden like the subject. المفعول به is always in accusative case, منصوب. And lastly, it answers the question what or whom. So we have three questions to identify the three components of a verbal sentence: what, who, and what again. The first what question is asking about the verb. Who is asking about the subject. And the second what question is asking about the direct object. Let's see an example. يشرب الولد اللبن. The boy drinks the milk, or the boy is drinking the milk. Let's ask the three questions. First, what? What is the action? The action was drinking, from this word, يشرب, which is a present verb means drinks. How did we know it is a present verb? Because it begins with يا, which is one of the four present letters, and its case ending is ضمة. So here we identified the action or the verb. The second question, who? Who did the action of drinking? Who drinks? The answer is الولد, the boy. So الولد is the subject, الفاعل. Because as we know, the subject is whoever or whatever does the verb. Now the last question, what? What did the boy drink? So here we ask about whatever receives the action of the verb. The answer is he drinks the milk, اللبن. So اللبن is the direct object, المفعول به. There is another way to differentiate between the subject and the direct object. By checking the case ending. We said الفاعل is always in nominative case, and the default case ending for nomination is ضمة in case of singular. That's why we see ضمة here. On the other hand, we said المفعول به is always in accusative case, and the default case ending in this case is فتحة here. Let's see another example. شرح المعلم الدرس. The teacher explained the lesson. What is the action? The action is شرح, explained. This is a past verb. So شرح is the verb of this verbal sentence. Then who? Who did the action of explaining the lesson? المعلم, the teacher. So المعلم is the subject, الفاعل. And as you can see, there is a ضمة as case ending here. And third, what? What did he explain? He explained the lesson, الدرس. So الدرس is the direct object, المفعول به, and so on. Once you are lost and you cannot identify the components of a verbal sentence, follow this 3 questions process. Let's look at this example. ماذا يفعل محمد? What does Muhammad do? The answer is يكتب الدرس. He is writing the lesson or writes the lesson. Here we have 2 verbal sentences. The first one is in the question. يفعل محمد. يفعل is the verb, means does, and Muhammad is the subject, الفاعل, right? But where is the object? There is no object for this sentence. Some verbs, as we said, don't need an object. The meaning of the verbal sentence is complete without an object. What about the second sentence? يكتب الدرس. يكتب is obviously the verb, means writes or is writing. Where is the subject, الفاعل? Is it الدرس, the lesson? Let's check by asking the question, who? Who is writing? Is it the lesson? Of course not. So الدرس is not the subject. It is the direct object. But where is the subject of this verb? Remember, we said every verb must have a subject, but here this subject doesn't exist. Why? It is a hidden pronoun, and its estimation is هو, he. So this sentence was originally like this. يكتب هو الدرس. He writes the lesson, or he is writing the lesson. But we hide it because the person we are talking about is obvious from the question, Muhammad. We even do that in English. If someone is asking you, what is Muhammad doing? You can simply answer using only the verb, writing, eating, watching a movie, and so on, right? Let's have a different example that will connect today's lesson with the previous one. فاطمة تأكل الطعام. Fatima is eating food. Let's try to ask some simple questions. What is the type of this sentence? Obviously, it's a nominal sentence because it begins with a noun, Fatima. So, Fatima is the subject of this nominal sentence, المبتدأ. You have to take note, subject of nominal sentence is different from subject of verbal sentence. So, as long as this is a nominal sentence, it has to contain a subject, مبتدأ, and a predicate, خبر. We agreed that Fatima is the subject, and the predicate is the complete verbal sentence تأكل الطعام. As we studied in the previous lesson that a predicate might be a verbal sentence. Now I want to focus on the verbal sentence. Let's analyze it down. Once we see a verb in the sentence, it means we are starting a verbal sentence. The verb is تأكل, obviously. And the second question we should ask after the verb is about the subject of the verb, الفاعل. Where is the subject? Let's ask the who question. Who eats? Is it الطعام, the food? Of course not. The food cannot eat itself. Then who? Someone might say it is فاطمة. Fatima is a subject, الفاعل, because she's a person who did the action of eating. This answer is wrong because of two reasons. First, the noun Fatima cannot be two things in the same time. We already said it is the subject المبتدأ of the nominal sentence, so it cannot be also the subject الفاعل of the verbal sentence. And the second reason is the subject of a verbal sentence must come after the verb, not before. So the noun Fatima cannot be the subject الفاعل. This gets us to the same point. Where is the subject? It is a hidden pronoun and its estimation is هي, she. And this pronoun refers to the main person, Fatima. So it was originally like this. فاطمة تأكل هي الطعام. Fatima, she is eating food. So once you don't see the subject obviously as a separate word or a connected pronoun to the verb, it will be a hidden pronoun for sure, but it must be there. A verbal sentence cannot be complete without a subject. And one last point about the verb here. It's conjugated based on the subject. Here it is feminine singular. That's why we said تأكل, not يأكل. So it's possible here to have a verbal sentence inside a nominal sentence. The nominal sentence is فاطمة تأكل الطعام. The subject المبتدأ is فاطمة, and the predicate is the complete verbal sentence تأكل الطعام. On the other hand, تأكل الطعام is a complete verbal sentence, despite it is the predicate of the nominal sentence. The verb is تأكل. The subject الفاعل is a hidden pronoun estimated as هي, she. And the direct object المفعول به is الطعام, the food. So far we have seen an example of the subject as an obvious noun and another example in which the subject of the verb is a hidden pronoun. Now let's see how can the subject be a connected pronoun to the verb. الأولاد يلعبون. The boys are playing. This example is just like the previous one. The sentence is nominal because it begins with a noun, الأولاد. And then we have a verb, يلعبون. يلعب is the verb and the suffix واو نون is a subjective pronoun, means they. This pronoun is the subject. So this single word is a complete verbal sentence as it contains the two necessary components, the verb and the subject, which is the connected pronoun واو نون. Take note of something very important. By adding the connected pronoun واو نون to the verb, we killed two birds with one stone. We conjugated the verb with the subject, that is plural, and also we added the subject as a connected pronoun to the verb. In one word only, we have all necessary parts of a verbal sentence. So, verb conjugation in Arabic is nothing but adding subjective and objective pronouns to the verb itself. And we will cover this topic soon in this level. Let's review today's lesson. A verbal sentence contains two basic components: the verb الفعل and the subject الفاعل. And there is a third component that might show up: the direct object المفعول به. The verb might be a past, a present, or even a command verb. The subject الفاعل must come after the verb, and it has three forms. It might be an obvious noun after the verb as a separate word. It might be a connected pronoun to the verb, or it might be a hidden pronoun which we can't see, but we can feel it from the context. A verbal sentence may show as the predicate of a nominal sentence or even as an adjective of a noun, as we will see later. Now let's have a little exercise. Here are some sentences. You are to extract the verbal sentences out of them and identify the three components of a verbal sentence. Let me see your answers in the comment section below. The PDF of this lesson is available in the video description, and also don't forget to subscribe my channel and leave a comment. See you in the next lesson.